What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today we are continuing our builds with these roaming supers and the Crown of Tempests Arc Warlock right here that gives us the ability to absolutely spam our super, do some pretty insane damage with it in my personal opinion, especially compared to how it was before. Plus we're getting this super fast, so we're able to go through any type of content with ease, from normal strikes all the way up to GMs. What you see in the gameplay is the Contest of Elders, which we are basically capped at the same thing. I was 2020 going into this, and at that final level, I think it's like 2045, 2050, so we're that full 1525 below light level, just like we are in GM, so you can see the ease of this build. Now, for the exotic perk that we have on this bad boy, which helps with the ability spam, we got Conductive Tines. Arc ability final blows or jolt final blows increase the recharge rate of your arc abilities and extend the duration of storm trance. So not only are we going to be able to do a good amount of damage when we get those defeats in the arc abilities, it's going to extend the storm trance so we can clear out adds upon adds upon adds, and if we are doing damage on a boss and there's adds around, it can help us to do even more damage because it'll help keep up the time of our storm trance even longer. So now when we move on to a Stormcaller subclass, like I said, we're going to be using Storm Trance, of course, for the jolting aspect, pairs with our exotic helmet, plus it's just absolutely crazy with the roaming aspect at this moment. Healing Rift is what we're going with Strafe Glide, Chain Lightning, so we can get even more jolt on enemies to create even more of that ability energy for us because of our exotic helmet, and then Pulse Grenade, of course, because best in the PvE realm in my personal opinion. Plus we're adding to the jolting aspect of this build with Spark of Shock. For me, I went with Arc Soul so we can get those bad boys to create even more ionic traces for us, plus arc ability defeats. These count as arc abilities, so even more of the procking of the exotic helmet for us, so very good aspect. And then Electrostatic Mind. Defeating jolted or blind targets creates those ionic traces. Ionic traces make us amplified, so that'll help turn our arc souls even faster. Plus, like I said, all about the jolted side of this build and arc abilities, so we can get our exotic helmet up there to proc all the time. Spark of Feedback is our first fragment. Taking melee damage increases our outgoing melee damage, so pretty good for endgame content. Plus it'll help us to have our Chain Lightning be even more effective. Spark of Magnitude, our Pulse Grenade, is going to last even longer. Pairing that with Spark of Shock, we're going to be able to jolt even more targets, so extended length plus jolt in the Pulse Grenade is super nice for a lot of reasons. Extra damage, extra ad clear, plus we're going to get all of the benefits of exotic helmet, plus Electrostatic Mind with all of those ionic traces, and last but not least, Spark of Resistance. Well surrounded, we are more resistant to incoming damage, so again, adding to their survivability of this build, end game of this build, and just in general the melee side of this build for jolting because of Chain Lightning right there. All right, when we move on to our mods as well as our armor, we got ourselves our Flappy Wings right there with our Discipline, Recovery as our number ones for our stats, as well as Resilience being at least 70 in my opinion for that end game content. Anything less than 70 up here feels like you are just getting absolutely tanked. If you can get this up higher into the 80s, even better, or even up to 100. But for me right here, we're gonna go with Dynamo, Ashes to Assets, as well as Harmonic Siphon for a bunch of orbs of power, as well as when we use our Rift, as well as get those defeats with our grenades, we're gonna get our super back, allowing us to spam our Storm Trance even more, taking full advantage of the Crown of Tempests. For me, I went with Double Impact Induction Momentum Transfer, so when we cause damage with our grenade, we're gonna get our melee back. When we cause damage with our melee, we're gonna get our grenade back, so little internal feedback loop in itself right there with our abilities. Totally up to you on your chess piece, but up to the activity, I guess I should say, that you are going into. You can switch these off, totally up to you depending on what you're getting hit with the most and the burns inside of that activity. For me, I went with Arc Surge as our weapon right here on our leg because of our kinetic as well as our heavy that we're going to be using with recuperation. So when we pick up those orbs of power, we're going to get back a little bit of health. Reaper creating even more orbs of power for us, and then Time Dilation animation to help us have that armor charge and arc surge in the weapon up basically consistently with this build, helping the juice side of this in the end game. On to our weapons right here. For Overload, we're going to be using our Noxious Vet Verta, and then Arbalist right here I broke out because we're going to be using this for our anti-barrier champions. Very good in endgame as well. Does a pretty good amount of damage and stuff on bosses, champions in general. Now, we are going to be using that Vex Verta right here with jolting feedback so we can get even more jolt going on with this build, adding to Crown of Tempest with arc ability. Jolt Final Blows give us our arc abilities back, so with this weapon, going to be using this the most for sure, adding to the feedback loop of this build, spamming our super, spamming our grenade and melee, creating even more of that jolt, which will give us more ability energy right back into our helmet. Last but not least, I went with my Song of Your Root Adept right here. You can really use any type of arc weapon in your heavy slot. If you want something like a Wendigo with the grenade launcher perks that we have on our Apothecary Satchel, you can go with that, but I liked having a machine gun on this build just because I don't know why, I felt a little bit different than what we've been doing this season in general with all the grenade launchers, plus this thing very good with damage and all the arc jolt that we got going on. Now, last but certainly not least, we got ourselves our Apothecary Satchel right here with, of course, we got ourselves the anti-barrier submachine gun right there, or I should say the Overload submachine gun. Sorry about that. We got ourselves authorized melee mods for a little bit cheaper in the melee side of this build. Dark Ether Reaper, very good for our Noxious Vet Verta, going to be able to grit even more of that overcharge, and Dark Ether Reaper charges to spawn to overflow the weapon. Rapid Final Blows with our weapon also give us increased mobility, super nice just to get around. Total Carnage, definitely super important for that endgame activity. Finishing Powerful Combatants gain increased damage resistance for us. Like I said, survivability. Trace Evidence right here, rapid precision hits or rapid final blows against jolted blinded targets, creates ionic traces. Definitely nice for us to get even more of that ability, energy, and arc synergy going on. Rapid Final Blows while we are surrounded gain us that armor charge, using this for that arc weapon surge that we are using on our boots. Hail the Storm, this is mostly for if other people are creating stasis crystals, frozen targets, when we shatter them, we're also going to be able to get those little shards of ice and slow that go around, just because nothing else was really speaking to me inside of these perks. Debilitating a wave, when we get those finishers on enemies, we're also going to get a blinding effect to go on, so even more of that effect with the strand, or I should say with the arc synergy, with creating even more of that blinding effect, which will in turn give us even more ionic traces. Curative Orbs right here, more orbs of power for us for sure, with breaking those shields on enemies, and with just in general using this for the arc surge on our boots. And last but not least, Conductive Cosmic Crystal, our arc abilities, as well as that Dark Ether Reaper origin trait, so our SMG is going to do increased damage to targets affected by stasis debuffs. Definitely a pretty nice little combination in my personal opinion, because there's stasis everywhere right now inside of this Revenant episode, because everything with our weapons, Tenacious Mastery, with that chill clip going on, with everything that we got with Rhyme Coat Warlock, with the juice that we got inside of Icefall Mantles, everything like that. Very stasis-y season. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but I hope that makes sense to y'all. So definitely a good little build that we have on right here for our Warlock. Love using this. Can take this, like I said, into anything. Endgame content, Contest of Elders, like you saw right here. We're basically at GM level content anyways. I was going in at 2020, maybe 2022 as my power level. At the final that you're seeing here in the gameplay, they're all the way up to 2045, 2050. So basically the same deficit that we're getting into GMs. Survivability is there, damage is there, ad clear is there. Very good little build to throw on. Plus roaming supers are just absolutely disgusting in my personal opinion, with our ability to get them back. And then Crown of Tempests makes it even better. We are spamming our abilities, spamming Jolt, spamming our supers. So love it a lot. I appreciate all you guys for coming back to the channel. Definitely give this build a try if you would like. Definitely would suggest it. And again, don't be afraid to like and subscribe to the channel, helps me out, helps you guys out. If you slap that bell as well, you guys will get all those notifications for the builds that we got here, all of our god rolls as well. So again, really appreciate all you guys for always coming back and supporting me, supporting the channel. I know Destiny is going up and down, especially with how bad the Dawning started out, but lots more to come, hopefully, in Act 3 going on in January on the 7th. Only a couple more weeks, little over a month before that happens, so lots to do before then and prep. But again, appreciate all you guys. I'm going to be dabbling into some Call of Duty, little stuff like that, playing with some people in there, so looking forward to that as well. But again, appreciate all you guys as always for coming back to the channel. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.